Now, Kenya's ICT sector has registered substantial growth, registering just about 13.4% expansion with an output of 262.3 billion shillings. Now, it's for this reason that CIO is set to award its ICT excellence based on achievements through the CIO 100 Awards. And joining me right now is the CIO East Africa Managing Director, Hare, on the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hare, before we jump into the awards, very interesting conversations have been about the changing role of the Chief Information Officer, which your award is ideally based on. We've moved from the IT guy who comes to fix hardware to someone who is actually seated at the board and driving strategy. Help us understand that transition.
I think, 10 years ago, what we're looking at was somebody who is in charge of the infrastructure, is in charge of the wires, the servers, not so in touch with the business side of things.
Right.
But see, as businesses began to look at IT as a strategic intervention into their own businesses,
right,
then even the CIO now had to change how they do their things. They had to get aligned with the business. They had to know what business is looking at doing,
right, and
actually be ahead of business to actually propose some of the technology interventions, right, for them to achieve their goals.
This seems to be overlapping the R&D department in most of the companies, because ideally then R&D falls right under the CIOs. Are African corporates transitioning and changing this?
R&D is threatened in a lot of places because you see, in fact, I also deal with a lot of technology startups and the technology. I see a lot of technology mergers and acquisitions, and we're seeing a lot of more money the R&D money actually going to startups because of the agility, right, for them to create new services. But the thing is, the CIO is now in a position where is driving innovation. Because you see, a lot of businesses are looking at tech as a way to transform their businesses.
Correct. And
therefore the CIO is right in the middle of that mix. And yeah, you're right. A lot of R&D is now around the CIO.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Let's shift the focus to awarding excellence in this. Help us understand the map, especially when it comes to ICT in our corporates. How has it been, and who are you looking to award?
So we're looking at people who've done things that have helped their businesses grow or achieve certain goals.
Right.
Because we believe adoption or implementation of IT should not be for IT's sake.
Right.
It should be, at the bottom of at the bottom of everything else. It's got to benefit business.
Right.
So what kind of value has IT brought into the business? So what we are awarding is the guys who looked at some pain points in their businesses,
right,
and created innovative solutions.
So these are not necessarily ICT-based companies?
No,
right,
this is actually corporate East Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are talking about the banking sector, we are looking at the manufacturing sector, agricultural sector,
right,
education, health, all those sectors. So it's completely, it's what we call the supply side,
right,
sorry, demand side of IT.
Right.
Yeah, the guys who are buying technology and implementing it to solve their...
Because people argue, if my corporate can write me a big check, can afford the latest innovation in terms of software solutions, then my company would easily win.
No,
right.
It doesn't necessarily follow. Because a lot of the time you've had a big IT projects failing. So the adoption of technology is such a strategic thing that
right,
it takes meticulous planning and execution.
Right.
And that is what we are actually awarding.
Right.
First, you identify the issue. Second, you identify the right solution for that issue.
Right.
And third, you actually put structures in place, including change management, to be able to actually implement that project,
right,
to its success.
Harry, sorry to jump in, but where does social media fall into this? Because there's a lot of confusion, especially when you talk to corporates, where they equate social media to ICT and it's lumped together in a corner. We don't seem to get this right. Does it fall under marketing? Is it where exactly does this fall?
Okay, so that's a big debate.
Right.
And actually it's a basis of a sort of controversial debate between the CMO and the CIO.
Right.
But it's owned by both places, because you see the CIO brings in the technology.
Correct.
While the CMO brings in now the engagement, the content, so to speak. Yeah. So I think social media is just one of the things. You know, you can call it a channel for doing business, but it's not everything.
Right.
Yeah, because you see, there's so much stuff that goes into any business in terms of the technology that drives a business. And you know, when you see social media posts or social media engagement, this is like the front end of the business.
Right.
But what drives our business from the back?
Right.
Yeah.
Even as you head towards your awards that you'll be awarding these people, the threat of cyber insecurity continues. And I was just looking at one of the issues we're talking about here. There's a new malware that is specific to Androids, and there are threats that it could be hitting Kenya. How, from where you sit, are Kenyan corporates well prepared in such situations?
They're working on that.
Right.
They're working on that. In the past few years, we've had big breaches, not just say corporate, government, NGOs. Everybody has been hit in the past few years. But I think there's awareness. You know, the thing is, a lot of these things happen when people are not aware of what is coming for them.
Right.
But I speak to a lot of these CIOs, and actually the biggest threat is not external. The biggest threat of breaches is actually internal.
Right.
Yeah. So
people are not careful with their passwords and things like that.
Yes. So so a lot of these guys are working on how to plug solutions into this, and you know, like in the coming symposium, there'll be a lot of talk about cyber defense.
Right.
This is one of the biggest topics at the conference.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We have to leave it there, Hare. Many thanks. Hare is the MD for CIO East Africa.